So recently, Trump sat down with the National Association of Black Journalists at a forum in Chicago. And considering it's Trump talking to a bunch of black people, I'm sure it's gonna go totally fine, right? But just in case, I better get a drink. A drink of water, of course. It's good to stay hydrated. What's up, everybody? It's your favorite bundle of atoms, Hunter Avalone here, back with another explosive video. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Donald Trump's recent disastrous sit-down with the National Association of Black Journalists in Chicago. Let me just give you a heads up. I have not seen much of this yet, but from my understanding, I don't think it's going to go so well.
A lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time, so let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump.
Okay, were they like told ahead of time to not applause? Or does this audience just already really dislike Trump? Trump's like walking out there to silence. I heard like 2 or 3 people like, woo! It's like when you go out on stage for the talent show in 1st grade and all you hear is your mom in the background. Woo! That's my boy! Yay!
Hi, Mr. Trump. Rachel Scott, BBC. Thank you. How are you? Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe black district attorneys. You've attacked black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort.
That's true.
So my question, sir, now that you are asking black supporters to vote for you, why should black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
First and foremost, let me just say, I appreciate the fact that right away, they're just jumping into the spicy questions, the spicy topics. Finally, no more of this boring chit chat. No more of the cringy optics of, hello, greetings, how are you, kind sir? Nah, they just jump right into it. They're like, yo, Trump, you've said a bunch of racist and creepy shit. Why should black people vote for you when you've said racist and creepy shit? You gotta love it. Trump is in the hot seat immediately.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with
The audience is even laughing. Are you kidding me? Can we just acknowledge, by the way, that he said, I can't believe I'm being asked such a horrible, nasty question, when the question was just repeating the things he himself has already said? If you think it's such a nasty question, Trump, maybe you shouldn't have said all those nasty things.
Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the black population of this country. I came
here in good spirits. Okay, I came here in a good mood. I was feeling happy. There was some pep in my step. I sit down here and then you ask me a question. This is like major snowflake behavior, and I want it to be known and remembered that if a Democrat ever acted like this, they would be laughed out of fucking town. All of Twitter would be mocking them, and they would become a right-wing meme overnight. So the notion that Trump is not doing anything other than acting like a fucking snowflake right now is ludicrous. This is absolute bitch baby behavior. Trump, don't say controversial things if you don't want to have to answer for the controversial things you've said.
So much for the black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for
Opportunity zones, Mr. Former President, opportunity zones, I will give you that they were a pretty decent idea. However, if you look at the numbers, they did not actually benefit Black communities very much, unfortunately. Instead, they tended to be exploited by large corporations. So no, actually, your opportunity zones, although maybe a step in the right direction, did not actually deliver any fruitful results. Sorry, my friend.
Black workers and black entrepreneurs done so much. And, you know, and I say this, historically black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them and I gave them long-term financing and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here. It turned out my opponent isn't here. You invited.
So I like that the entire time he has not answered any of the questions, any of the criticisms. All we got is just, you didn't even say hi to me. You didn't even offer me a foot rub. You just instantly asked me to answer for these mean things I said. He's not answering, though. I guess this is just the classic narcissist behavior, right? They get called out for some of their bad behavior, and they just quickly, as fast as possible, move the goalpost and start trying to play victim. I've done so much for the Black community, okay? What a rude and nasty, horrible thing to say to me. Like, he's literally playing victim and trying to bolster his own accomplishments because he was criticized. It's actually like narcissistic behavior.
You invited me under false pretense, and then you said you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand.
Wait, what? She was going to do it with Zoom, and then she's not coming? So she wasn't going to do it with Zoom then?
And then you were half an hour late, just so we understand. I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something was wrong.
Mr. President, I would love if you could answer the question on your rhetoric and why you believe that Black voters should trust you with another 4 years.
I have been the best.
You haven't answered the question at all. You've literally taken 2.5 minutes to complain.
Question. I have been the best president for the Black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act?
For you to start off.
Better than President Johnson, who signed the Voting Rights Act? That was a really good response. I have no idea where Trump gets this idea. I guess he thinks it's really powerful rhetoric to be like, I'm the best president for Black people since Abraham Lincoln. No, you're not, though. You didn't really do anything. You inherited an economy in which the unemployment rate, the Black unemployment rate as well, it was already at record lows. You just inherited it, tried to take credit, and are now saying you're the best president for Black people?
A question and answer period, especially when you're 35 minutes late because you couldn't get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner. I think it's a disgrace. I really do.
That's a hostile manner to snowflake Trump over here? Wow. Oof. I can't believe Republicans want this weird, old, sensitive man to be our president. Like, it's so bizarre to me. This guy is so fucking elderly. He's decrepit. He's up here on stage. He's just, oh, you're so mean to me. Really, Republicans? This is your big, tough alpha daddy?
Follow up, sir, and then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you...
Anybody that claims Kamala Harris is a result of DEI, you can easily and comfortably call them a sexist, racist piece of shit and then wish them the absolute worst throughout their endeavors. Okay, that's what you're allowed to do, because I'll tell you this right now. Assuming that a woman or a Black person or a Black woman is in a position of success due to DEI, due to some kind of policy that made some sort of special exception, that is assuming that women or minorities couldn't have made it on their own. They couldn't have possibly earned the education and attained this skill to be in a successful position on their own, like Kamala Harris. No, they must have been forced in that position by DEI. It's complete bullshit, and it takes away from people's qualifications. If somebody gets a job and they're a minority or they're a woman, it does not mean they just got that job because they're a minority or a woman. Stop assuming that and instead start assuming, hey, maybe this person got the job because they're fucking qualified.
Define DEI. Go ahead. How do you define
Diversity, equity, inclusion.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir,
of
I'm
that.
asking you a question.
How does Trump even have conversations with people? I've had more successful and beneficial, fruitful conversations with ChatGTP.
You have to define it. Define it for me if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a black woman?
Well, I can say no. I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much, and she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a...
Okay, Donald J. Trump, you can be both Indian and black, actually. And even more so, where the fuck is this idea that Kamala Harris is somehow making up the fact that she's black or something in order to gain political points? This is absolutely false. Harris, 59, has long embraced her black and South Asian identity. She is the daughter of a Jamaican father and an Indian mother, both immigrants. According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, she was raised in a predominantly black neighborhood in Berkeley, California. In her youth, she also attended Howard University, a historically black institution in Washington, D.C., and joined Alpha Kappa Alpha, the nation's oldest sorority established for black college women in 1908. Harris became a member of the Congressional Black Caucus after entering the Senate in 2017. She said in 2019, "I'm black and I'm proud of being black. I was born black, I will die black, and I'm not going to make excuses for anybody because they don't understand." Okay, so basically Donald Trump is fucking lying through his goddamn teeth when he's claiming that she was always Indian and now she just became black. She transformed. The trans agenda got her. This is fucking embarrassing.
No, is she Indian or is she black?
She is always identified as a black woman. She went to a historically black college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe...
Oh no, he really doesn't understand at all. Oh no, he doesn't understand that you can be Indian and black. Oh no.
The one, but she obviously doesn't, because
she does respect it because she's recognizing both aspects of her heritage, my friend. You're the one not respecting it by acting like this is some kind of a dichotomy where you can either be Indian or black.
Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do you believe that
I think somebody should look into that too when you ask, continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
Somebody should look into that? What? Look into that how? What does he think happened? Does he think that Kamala Harris used to be like, yeah, I'm Indian, and then one day, like, she made a mistake at the tanning salon, and then bam, she became a black woman, and since then, she's just been capitalizing on it? Look into it. What does that even mean? How are you going to look into that?
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some Republicans have said?
I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there, Harris, is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that interview.
You told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost.
I like how they're just moving it on. They're like, all right, Trump's just rambling, old man yelling at cloud. Let's move on and try to get him to answer a single fucking question. One question. I mean, my God, you could be like, Trump, is the sky blue? Would you mind telling me if it's blue or not? What a ridiculous and heinous and nasty question.
On us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a black job, sir?
A black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
I can't get over the audience reaction. It's like a live audience at a sitcom. They're like, oh, what? It's so bizarre what he's saying. Okay, so when asked to define a black job, Trump says it's a job. Okay, so there's no difference with a job versus a black job. So all he's really saying now is that immigrants are taking jobs. This is just untrue. We already know that immigrants, both legal and illegal, pay more into social services than they take out. And here are key facts from Economic Policy Institute to give some Republicans a much-needed reality check. The unemployment rate for US-born workers averaged 3.6% in 2023, the lowest rate on record. Obviously, immigration is not causing high unemployment among US-born workers. The prime age labor force participation rate for US-born individuals is also at its highest rate in more than 2 decades. The prime age labor force participation of US-born men without a bachelor's degree grew at a record pace in each of the last 2 years and is above its pre-COVID trend. How is this happening if immigrants are taking all the jobs? Though the immigrant share of the labor force reached a record high in 2023, immigrant labor force growth is not occurring at an unprecedented rate. Immigrants are an integral part of our labor market, filling gaps caused by demographic changes in the United States and contributing to strong economic growth. Right here, as a Congressional Budget Office recently reported, immigration is contributing to strong economic growth, with future immigration forecasted to boost real gross domestic product by 2% over the next 10 years, as well as increasing government revenue. How are immigrants, if they're benefiting the economy, also hurting the economy and hurting US jobs? No, immigrants are not taking black jobs. There's no such thing as a black job. There is such a thing as a job, and immigrants are not taking jobs away from American workers. So this just isn't happening. So thank you, Trump, for lying. Please continue.
a black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're
can
taking the employment away from black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's...
So calling it an invasion is really yikesy and weird. So that's super yikes. And then he goes on to say he thinks there's, 17 million illegal immigrants? Like, per year? Or in reality, illegal crossings at the US-Mexico border just fell to a 3-year low, the lowest level under Biden. Not to mention illegal border crossings didn't even change under Trump. That's right, everybody. When Trump was president, illegal border crossings were the same. In fact, according to Pew Research, Southwest border apprehensions more than doubled in 2019. Trump took office when? 2017, right? Little bit of a downward trend there. An uptick, a huge uptick. So even if what Trump is alleging is true, that immigrants are causing a bunch of problems, electing Trump wouldn't even be the fucking solution. So even if Trump was correct, which he's not, when he says that illegal immigrants are hurting the US economy and whatnot, electing him doesn't seem like it would do much to fucking help.
These people are coming into our country and they're taking black jobs and Hispanic jobs, and frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the...
Actually, unions have been doing pretty damn good thanks to Biden. He's the first sitting president to walk a picket line, has appointed union-backed advocates to the Department of Labor and the National Labor Relations Board, and has pledged to create millions of union jobs through bills like the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. In the last week alone, he's banned non-compete agreements, increased the number of people eligible for overtime pay, and cracked down on bad retirement savings advice.
Many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going...
Again, what? So you're telling me that the Mexican government is rounding up their violent criminals, their drug dealers, setting them free from prison in the United States? I'm sorry. homeboy. I'm gonna need a source for that one, dude. You're gonna need to provide a little bit of evidence if you're gonna make a claim like that. There was a 48% decline in US violent crime from 1990 to 2013, a time when the undocumented population tripled. So when the undocumented population tripled in the US, we saw a 48% decrease in violent crime. Trump, if what you were saying was true, we would not see this. We would see more immigrants, more crime. It would be that simple. That's not what we're seeing. All of the evidence that we have shows and strongly suggests that immigrants, illegal immigrants, commit less crime even than native-born American citizens. So you're just lying. You're making up bullshit. You sound like Alex Jones on crack cocaine. Please, log off, old man.
How you address some of the issues with black communities. And I say that plural because we live in communities of color that are different. We're not all the same. We don't vote the same. We don't think the same.
Sure.
It's not monolithic. So as you come here today, I want to talk about something that bursts. And this is the weight of the inflation on this country right now. The nonprofit Money Management International recently released data from its mid-year analysis that we have found a 52% rise in people who are seeking counseling for being in credit debt. They're paying for food that is sky high on their credit cards, and now they can't pay that off. The credit counseling nonprofit MMI, as I said, is saying now that they've seen surges that they haven't seen since we were in a pandemic of people in financial trouble. Much of that falls on the shoulders of single moms, single black moms, when you look statistically. Yeah. How do you turn it around? What's your plan for the black community?
And who set the stage for the inflation again? Was it Donald Trump's tax cuts? Class? Anybody? Yes, correct.
When it comes to money.
So, first of all, it's very hard to hear you for whatever reason because of the fact that they have bad equipment, because I guess, this woman was unable to get the right equipment. But it's very hard for me to hear you, but I can hear every other word.
Why is everything that Trump says like a weird insult and a sarcastic defensive comment? Like, just answer the question like a fucking human being, goddammit. You sound like an AI.
You know what we have to do? We have to bring down the cost of energy, and that's going to bring down the cost of inflation. This was all started with a bad energy policy by Joe Biden. By the way, just if I might, I was running against a man named Biden. You probably saw that. And he was losing very badly in the polls, and then he had a rather bad debate. I would say it was a bad debate. I would say it was one of the worst debates in history. And his poll numbers crashed.
Oh no, Grandpa's rambling again. Somebody stop him. Oh no.
And instead of saying, let's keep going and maybe something happens the other way, they said, oh, we're going to replace him. Let's just replace him. That's like you're in a fight, a prize fighter's in a fight. He's not doing well. You say, let's bring in another fighter. So our whole campaign was steered toward him, and now we have to steer toward him. But ultimately it's the same because...
He's coping so bad right now. He's like, I had the whole campaign set up for Biden, and then they just switched it all around. I had this election in the bag, and then they brought out somebody a lot better, and he's just whining. At the end of the day, Biden was never named by the DNC as the official nominee. Kamala Harris was also on the ticket as the VP, so she was already elected. There are no excuses for the Republicans. Cope harder.
They have bad policy. They have policies of open borders, unbelievable open borders, horrible energy policies. They want to get rid of, as you say, gasoline in cars. They want to get rid of oil. They want to get rid of efficient heating.
Mr. President.
Environmentally, what they're doing is killing our country.
They're like, please, Mr. President, we asked you what you wanted from McDonald's. You're still talking about Joe Biden here. Like, please, just...
Absolutely destroying our country. But the inflation is the thing that's hurting the black worker, the black population, and every other population within our country. Inflation is the worst it's been, I think, in over 100 years. And they'll fact check it. They'll say it's only 58. Whatever it may be, they don't add all the numbers. They don't add the really bad numbers, and you can check that too. But inflation, Harris, is absolutely destroying this country and the people.
So Trump basically said nothing other than inflation bad, and it's probably even badder than I'm alleging. That's what we just got from that, 4-minute speech? God.
In our country, yes,
Mr. President, can I ask you another question
Yes,
that is also impacting black Americans?
And that's very clear now. Good.
I'm sorry?
It's very clear. I hear you.
Okay. So Sonia Massey, someone from Illinois, an unarmed black woman, was shot the other day in her home by a deputy sheriff. The deputy has since been charged with murder. You've said police would get immunity from prosecution if you win. Why should someone like that officer have immunity, in your opinion?
Immunity?
Immunity.
I don't know the exact case, but I saw something And it didn't look good to me. It didn't look good to me. Are you talking with the water, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
It did.
yeah, we
police-
all saw that clip and it was fucking insane. It was absurd. The way the cop was talking about the woman after he killed her, the fact that he was like, I'm gonna shoot you in the fucking face after she said, like, I pray in the name of Jesus or something. Like, that whole thing was absolutely absurd. It was one of the most blatant displays of police brutality and police just overstepping their authority. Did Trump really say that police would get immunity if he was president? In May, former President Donald Trump traveled to Wisconsin and he said, quote, we're going to give our police their power back and we are going to give them immunity from prosecution. Obviously, that's not legal. Now Trump is going to have to backtrack on this one. I hope he's going to say there will be some exceptions.
unions are not backing this person either. But again, why would...
Are they going to be charging the officer? I guess they're charging the officer.
So why should he receive immunity?
Well, he might not. I mean, it depends. It depends on what happens. I'm talking about people that are much different cases than that. We need people to protect ourselves. And by the way, in Chicago, as an example, a few weeks...
And a pivot, a massive pivot.
They had 117 shootings and 17 deaths. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. We need to have our
Giving police immunity would not help that.
officers have the respect and dignity back. In this particular case, I saw something that didn't look good to me. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all.
So can you get a little more specific back to the immunity question? Who would make those
Well, right now, for the most part, people are protected by their unions, by their police unions, or by their police departments. But I'm saying if I felt, or if a group of people would feel that somebody was being unfairly prosecuted because the person did a good job maybe with crime, or made a mistake, an innocent mistake. There's a big difference between being a bad person and making an innocent mistake. But if somebody
So that was really telling that he kind of slipped up. Me or a group of people would decide, okay, Trump's going to be like, I feel like that was probably justified. Meh, let him go. Like
an innocent mistake, I would want to help that person.
What would those exceptions be? What would determine
You
an
go
innocent
after
mistake?
somebody and it's a very close call and it's very dangerous. And you know, they have, the policeman's life and woman is a very difficult thing because sometimes you have less than a second to make a life and death decision, and sometimes very bad decisions are made.
but why do you keep pivoting? Why are you so goddamn slippery and weaselly, Mr. President? The boiling water incident, that was not a split-second decision. The cop had plenty of time to not shoot the person who was holding a pot of water that the police officer himself had already instructed the woman to remove from the stove. That wasn't a split-second decision. He wasn't in a situation in which he needed to make a split-second decision. So you bringing that up, again, reads as an obfuscation.
They're not made from an evil standpoint, but they're made from the standpoint of they made a mistake.
So I want to follow up really quickly. I find it interesting because you do talk about reining in prosecutors, especially when it comes to prosecutors that are prosecuting you. Why doesn't that skepticism apply to law enforcement?
Well, I've been prosecuted because I'm a political opponent of two people that have weaponized our justice system. I've been prosecuted.
Says you. 34 felony counts later.
I just won the big case in Florida. Everyone said that was the biggest case. That was the most difficult case. And I just won it. Now, Biden has a similar case, except much worse. I was protected under the Presidential Records Act. Biden wasn't.
This is whataboutism.
He can be president. Isn't that nice?
Mr. President,
but they released him on the basis that he was incompetent. They said he had no memory, and he was a nice old guy, but he had no memory, and therefore we're not going to prosecute him. I won the case, and it got very little publicity. I didn't notice ABC doing any publicity on it, George.
We cover you extensively, sir. I'd love to move over onto
I
different
didn't notice
topics
you
now.
do any publicity on it
They
at
just
all.
keep on like, please, can we just move over? He's like, how come nobody talked about that? Hey, I didn't see your publication talking about that. Let's see. Interesting. I just found right here from ABC News. Supreme Court gives Trump some immunity in January 6th case, but not for unofficial acts. The historic decision on presidential power will delay Trump's January 6th trial. Hey, Trump, how come there's an ABC News article right here talking about it? You just said they didn't cover it. They did. What was it just not kiss ass enough for you?
Won the case, the biggest case. This is an attack on a political opponent. I have another one where I have a hostile judge.
We have you for a limited time, sir. I'd love to move on to different
No,
topics.
excuse me. You're the one that held me up at 35 minutes, just so you understand.
If we can move on now to the state of the race, sir, I want to get back to the campaign. Senator.
He's just such an asshole for no reason. If the person was an asshole to him, it would be fitting for him to kind of be doing those little disses at them. But that's not what happened. He literally just got triggered that she asked him a question about his own rhetoric. And because of that now, this entire time, he's actually been acting like a little bitch baby. Well, you held me up for so long. What a nasty question. You can't get your equipment to work. Just shut up, old man. Go back to drinking your Pedialyte.
Senator J.D. Vance is your running mate. He's had a lot of controversy lately, and I want to read you a few things that he has said in the past. He said the Democrats running the country are a bunch of childless cat ladies who are miserable at their own lives and the choices they've made, and so they want to make the rest of the country miserable too. He's not talking here about how great it is to be a parent. He's attacking what he says are the choices people are making to not have children. Did you know that he had these views about people who do not have children before you picked him to be your running mate, and do you agree with him?
No, I know this. He is very family-oriented, and he thinks family is a great thing. That doesn't mean he thinks that if you don't have a family, it's not. I know people with families. I know people with great families. I know people with very troubled families. And I also know people with no families. They didn't meet the right person. Things happen. You go through life, you don't meet the right person.
But he's not just talking about families here. He also says that people that don't have children should get less votes than those that do.
I'm just speaking for myself.
Is that your
and I think
campaign
I'm speaking for him, too. He strongly believes in family. But I know people with great families. I know people with not great families that don't have a family. And the people without the family are far better. They're superior in many cases, okay? He's not saying they're not. What he's saying is that he thinks the family experience is a very important thing. It's a very good thing. But that doesn't mean that if you grow up and you grow older and you don't meet somebody that would be wonderful to meet and would have been good, that that's a bad thing. He's not saying that. My interpretation...
Well, I mean, when he said that people without kids are more sociopathic, he was kind of saying that, Trump. Like, that's kind of like what he said, buddy.
You'll have to ask him, actually. But my interpretation is he's strongly family-oriented. But that doesn't mean if you don't have a family, there's something wrong with it.
Just one last point, and then we'll move on. Just one of the bedrock principles of American life is one person, one vote. Senator J.D. Vance has suggested that someone who has children should have more votes than a person who does not have children. I just want to be clear here. Is that the position of your campaign?
Well, no, but it's not something I've ever heard before. I can tell you this. Right now you have illegal aliens coming into our country, and many from prisons and many from mental institutions.
Look at her face. Dude, look at this lady's face. It is so accurate. It's how all of us feel. As soon as he said illegal immigrants, we're just, oh my God.
Illegal aliens coming into our country, and many from prisons and many from mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country.
Your vice president said that people with kids should have more votes than people without kids. What do you have to say to this, Mr. President? And his response, well, illegal immigrants are coming into the country from prisons, and no, I don't think that those people should vote, okay? What?
Illegal mental institutions, and they want to give them votes. I don't think they should have votes. They came into our country illegally, and they're taking the vote away from all of the people.
He is literally almost as incoherent as Biden at this point. He literally would have made more sense if she was like, your vice president said this, what do you think? And he was like, I don't know, I really prefer waffles over pancakes, I guess. That would still make more fucking sense than whatever the hell just came out of this man's pie hole. So I wanted to fact check what that lady said, and turns out that it's actually true. Uh-oh.
Children are the future of this country, and yet the parents who have them actually have no advantage in our democratic process. They have a smaller voice in some ways than the people who don't have any children at all. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power, you should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Now, people will say...
Not only is that unconstitutional, that's just fucking ludicrous and weird. That's just a weird-ass thing to say.
People, they were treated very unfairly. They worked very hard, and they were treated unfairly. He wrote the book.
Okay, so then he babbles about J.D. Vance for a little bit.
Yeah. And 2 days after that...
I cannot understand. Your microphone
I know,
is so
it is really hard for me to understand
it's just,
you too.
I can understand you perfectly.
Push this closer.
I can understand you.
Trump just cannot help himself but to diss the lady that asked a question that offended him.
You know, has a lot of opinions about childless women like myself or divorced people like yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is...
Proof right there that Trump is a snowflake. At least it was said nicely. He's literally like a fucking dog. You can like just insult him to his face, but as long as you're using a nice and polite tone, he'll just start like wagging his tail and just lap that shit right up. So fucking funny.
Yourself. Do you think, well, I mean, my point is here.
But at least it was said in a friendly manner.
My point is... do you think the Republican Party is getting a little bit too judgy about people's lives when you think about abortion or when you think about what J.D. Vance is saying?
I don't think, look, I think that the Democrat Party is really the one that has the problem. I think they're radical on abortion because they're allowing abortion in the 9th month. They're allowing...
That's a lie. That's just complete bullshit, but okay. A video shows Virginia Governor Ralph Northam during a 2019 radio interview speaking in support of infanticide or after-birth abortions. This is false. Northam was giving a hypothetical example of what could happen if a mother whose fetus had severe deformities or wasn't otherwise viable requested an abortion while in labor. His comments came in response to a question about whether he supported state legislation that would have loosened restrictions on abortions later in pregnancy. Experts told the Associated Press that abortions in the 3rd trimester are extremely rare.
Because right now people can't buy food. Your grocery bills are up 40, 50, 60%, right? She's agreeing to me. Oh, she's agreeing. Thank you. I like you very much.
Mr. President, I think we are.
But it's
Further proof that Trump only likes people that agree with him.
All right. So leave it. That is the last word. Thank you so much, Mr. Trump, for coming today and joining us.
Well, thank you very much.
They've been telling us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Great
Thank
honor.
you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
NABJ will email about details regarding the conversation with Vice President Kamala Harris in September. Thank you.
So keep in mind that the purpose of this convention, no cap, was to try and make Trump more appealing to black voters. So, I don't know if that was much of a success, because if you ask me, this was a fucking disaster. Trump sounded like a butthurt bitch baby pretty much the entire time. He couldn't stay on topic, he couldn't stop rambling, and he couldn't stop throwing meaningless and petty little disses at the one journalist that would dare ask him a question that he personally didn't like. He's a fucking bitch baby. This entire interview proves it. I have no idea why Republicans worship this man as if he's some alpha or something. He's just an old, offended snowflake. And what's even more funny, a conservative pundit has come out to say it. Trump did crap the bed. Conservative CNN contributor Scott Jennings didn't mince words when it came to Donald Trump's disastrous appearance at the National Association of Black Journalists convention on Wednesday. He did crap the bed today, Jennings said. The only question is whether he's going to roll around in it or get up and change the sheets. Trump attacked the journalists hosting the event, claimed Vice President Kamala Harris happened to turn black only a couple years ago, and declared himself the best president for black Americans since Abraham Lincoln. Well, there you guys have it. Donald Trump doing his absolute worst to appeal to black voters. This is definitely a disaster for Donald Trump. But hey, at least it was funny and enjoyable to watch. I think I need another drink.